Was Duke and Rebecca about to defeat Valon, Deck of Armor, by TGS Anime? For full clarification, I honestly have not seen Season 4 in any real capacity. I think Yugioh versus Raphael and maybe clips of the finale are all I've gotten to, but I'm very interested in this because there's a number of things going on in Season 4, not a lot of drama and stuff. I'm very curious what's actually played in this.
Valon versus Duke and Rebecca. This was the only Orichalcos arc duel where the Seal of Orichalcos itself was not actually used.
Okay.
Making this technically the lowest stake duel of the arc.
Right.
However, it did showcase the power that Valon wielded with his armor cards, which, spoilers, was a lot, since he utterly dominated Duke and Rebecca in their duel. But that made me wonder, Duke, especially Rebecca, are very competent duelists. Could they really not have done any better in this duel? Were they really that outclassed? Also, since technically Valon held back, had he chose to use the Seal of Orichalcos from the start, would it have made a difference? And of course, the most important question, with how fluid the animation becomes later on in the duel as soon as Valon equips those armor cards, I have to ask, was he taking any duel enhancing supplements? Perhaps he was taking today's sponsor, Gamer Subs.
Wild.
Gamer Subs is like pre-workouts, but for dueling. Have a scoop of Gamer Subs with some H2O and you get a tasty energy and vitamin boost to keep you sharp during a duel. Not only is he keeping Valon extra springy in his duel, but here is some footage of me under the influence of Gamer Subs as well. Playing absolutely flawlessly, I might add. By drinking this, I
Based Evil Hero player. I play Evil Heroes because I like Season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You play Evil Hero because you look at a Dusted Gold, Malicious Bane, Wombo combos and go, oh, that's pretty cool. We are not the same.
won't misplay ever again, so let's see if that holds true.
5 minutes later.
He did, he summoned exactly what I said he would. Haha, when does that...
Lancia.
Then you can change one attack position monster your opponent controls the defense. Yeah!
Lancia is dumb. Makes me really want to build ice barriers.
Gamer Subs! Why didn't you help me read? No! Cut that. 0 calories, 0 sugar, and an anime girl on the front of their waifu cups. You can't really go wrong. If this is something you fancy, there is a link down below in the description and pinned in the comments, and if you use my discount code TGS, you'll get yourself 10% off. Thank you, Gamer Subs, for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's jump into the duel.
I thought it was really good. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I actually really liked it. Very personable. Transition was flawless, seamless even. Master Duel, I mean, clearly showcases, like, it's not like he's playing, doing a Resident Evil video and then having, like, Hello Kitty Island Adventure as footage, right? Like, the footage is on point. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. Totally makes sense. I don't know what pushes it over to a 10. Maybe a little more flourish on the editing, potentially. But, I mean, everything's here. Everything's here from visual aids, QR code, maybe. Yeah, give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really good.
The duel begins and Valon goes first. He draws, and his opening hand consists of Psychic Armor Head, Magnet Armor, the Seal of Orichalcos, and 3 mysterious cards. Valon summons his Psychic Armor Head into attack. Now, Psychic Armor Head is Valon's ace monster, basically. It facilitates everything else in his deck, and as such, it has a lot of abilities. And these are all of them. Instead of conducting the draw phase, instead you can add an armor monster from your deck to your hand.
Okay.
During the standby phase, if this card is in the grave, you can summon it to the field into attack. If there are 2 or more armor monsters on the field, Valon can choose the opponent's attack target. Only 1 armor monster can attack per turn. The best way to visualize the armor monsters is, obviously in the duel, they all start equipping themselves to Valon. So you've got to start thinking of them as like a single entity. So despite the fact I have 3 monsters on the field, when I'm being attacked, if my head's being attacked, I can still defend with my arm or my other arm, whatever it is, obviously. Same with attacking. I can only attack once, which is going to be with one arm, my other arm, or my head or something. You can't just attack with like everything at the same time.
Right.
So that's the best way to visualize it, I guess. With all that,
Do we have an archetype that even functions similar to this? I mean, I guess it'd be this. I guess it'd be like if you had like triplicate of a card on board, but you were able to attack with only one of those cards. Say like they were baseline 2,000 each, right? You would attack with one of them, but it would be powered up by the others, so you'd be swinging with like a 6K body, but you only swing once. And when you're attacked, I don't know. I think it's interesting to think about, like, if an archetype in modernity were to do something like this, but I worry about balancing, and I worry about how this would be implemented. It's interesting. It's an interesting design.
In mind, Valon ends his turn here. It's Duke's turn, and he draws. His opening hand consists of Orgoth the Relentless, Summon Dice, and 4 mysterious cards. Duke starts by activating his Summon Dice spell. By paying 1,000 life points, he can now roll a die, and depending on the result, one of 3 effects will occur.
Sure.
If he rolls a 1 or a 2, he gets to special summon up to 2 level 4 or lower monsters in his hand. If he rolls a 3 or a 4, he can special summon a monster from his grave. If he rolls a 5 or a 6, he can special summon a level 5 or higher monster in his hand. Duke dungeon dice rolls, I just mean regular dice rolls, and gets a 6. So he can summon a high level monster in his hand. He summons his boss monster, Orgoth the Relentless. Since the battle phase is not yet available, Duke ends his turn here. It's Rebecca's turn, and she draws. Her opening hand consists of Luster Dragon number 2,
I didn't actually know she's where Luster Dragon came from. Clearly, I missed an entire anime arc.
Rope of Life, and 3 mysterious cards. Rebecca summons her Luster Dragon into attack, and then sets her Rope of Life face down. Unable to enter the battle phase yet, she ends her turn here.
I mean, with cards we have in terms of public information, I think these are the optimal plays, realistically, right? You get your summon, your normal summon per turn, Rope of Life set face down, baiting out any MST, potentially. Duke, lucky rolls the 5-6 slot, right? He had the 66% chance to, at a 3 for something to happen, right? Because the 1 and 2 was what? Summon up to 2 level 4 monsters from deck, I think? So, but he didn't have anything in his grave, so 3 and 4 would be dead. 5 and 6 is the optimal play here. Yeah, I mean, I think that these, for all intents and purposes, both these plays were, from what we have in terms of public information, were the optimal plays.
Back to Valon. And just before he draws, he activates the effect of his Psychic Armor Head, which allows it to, instead of conducting his draw phase, add an armor monster to his hand instead.
Okay.
He forgoes his draw phase to add double cloth armor. He tributes his Psychic Armor Head to summon it to the field. Now, while this card is on the field, it is unable to declare an attack. However, if an opponent's monster attacks it, the opponent will take damage equal to half the attack of their monster, then both of these battling monsters will be destroyed.
So it's just worse you bell. Got it.
Valon sets his magnet armor face down and ends his turn. It's Duke's turn, and the anti-penultimate turn of the duel. He draws and gets Adamantine Sword Revival. Anti-penultimate, third from last. I have penultimate and final on this t-shirt, but not anti-penultimate. Maybe we'll make one in the future. Who knows? Duke
Wink, wink. I learned a thing today. I learned anti-penultimate was a thing.
immediately sets Adamantine Sword Revival face down and then moves into his battle phase. Valon, at this point, I might add, has completely revealed the effect of his monster. He's been completely honest and said, this is what my monster can do, so if you attack into it, your monster will be destroyed and you'll take damage, but you will get rid of my monster. Is it worth it? It's completely up to you. Why did he reveal his monster's effects? Because Rebecca and Duke had no idea about these armor cards, so they didn't know what they could do.
Right.
He did it because he's just uber confident in himself in this duel, and he should be, because no matter what they would have done, they probably wouldn't be able to deal with this card. Duke, willing to take some damage and lose his monster just to get rid of double cloth armor, he declares an attack with his Orgoth. Double cloth armor's effect activates, destroying both itself and Orgoth. Duke takes half of Orgoth's attack as damage.
Okay.
With no more plays, despite having 4 mysterious cards in his hand, Duke ends his turn.
Dude actually is running triplicate Orgoth, so he's got like double Orgoth in hand and just 2 other bricks. Dude actually is like, oh man, it's when you're playing Branded and you actually draw the Dark Magician and you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna scoop, but this game is not worth it anymore. I don't really care.
Really? Nothing with 4 cards in your hand? You can't even
Brick
summon like
City.
a small monster, like a bat or something, just attack into that monster. Obviously, Valon has a backup plan if that's the case, which we'll talk about later, but nothing really. It's Rebecca's turn, and the
Not even ultimate combo, Silver Wolf Raigeki. Not even.
penultimate turn of the duel. She draws and gets Mirror Force.
Hot.
She sets it face down immediately. She then tributes her Luster Dragon to
For 2.
summon Luster Dragon number 2. She moves into a battle phase and uses Luster Dragon number 2 to attack Valon directly. However, Valon activates his Magnet Armor. which lets him summon an armor monster in his grave to his side of the field. He summons back his double cloth armor. It is unclear whether a replay occurs here and Rebecca chooses to attack, or double cloth armor forces Luster Dragon to attack it. Rebecca's initial reaction is horror after a monster is destroyed, but she does have a backup plan specifically for when her monster is destroyed.
Rope alive.
Detrimentally, however, Magnet Armor's negative ability
Oh, that makes sense that they're classified as unions. Okay.
destroys the monster it summons during the end of the turn. So Rebecca technically could have chosen not to attack. Regardless, the effect of double cloth armor activates again, destroying itself and the battling monster.
So this clearly seems like it's portrayed as a duel that's a complete mismatch, right? You have the person playing Lightsworn Fiendsmith Wombo combo versus the person that literally has Frognarks from like circa 2012, right? And they have maybe like triplicate Obelisk the Tormentor in there because they like big 4K body, right? Like, it's just going to be a wash for all intents and purposes, right? Especially if they're trying to get stuff out. Maybe, you know, the Lightsmith, oh my God, might as well be. Fiendsmith Lightform player actually like drops like Ash Blossom or something. Or is able to like, you know, get rid of their Treeborn Frog in some way, shape, or form. Like, I think it's super fascinating to think about because we've talked about like the narrative being additive to the overall narrative here. It could entirely be that a replay of battle could have occurred, absolutely, but because of, you know, skill level, because of not knowing, because of being on the back foot, clearly Valon is just leagues better, right? Dude's playing at a regional Nats level and they're playing at LGS level, right? So it could be that the phase that response was skipped over because she just didn't take the initiative, right? Like she didn't actually click the button that said, "Would you like to replay a battle?"
Rebecca then takes half her monster's attack as damage. However, Duke and Rebecca aren't done. Since her monster was just sent to the grave, she can activate her set Rope of Life, which now, by discarding her entire hand, she can bring back her monster that was just destroyed with an extra 800 attack. She discards her mysterious hand of 3 to summon back Luster Dragon number 2 with 3200 attack.
Okay.
Seeing Valon is wide open, Duke follows up this play by activating his Adamantite Sword Revival.
Weird. Oh my God, it has the actual quick play icon. We're at a Battle City where every spell card is a quick play.
With this card's effect, when a dragon is summoned from the grave, it immediately tributes that monster in order to summon Diamond Head Dragon from his deck under the control of the tributed monster's owner. Duke tributes Rebecca's Luster Dragon number 2 and summons his Diamond Head Dragon to Rebecca's field. Due to Diamond Head's effect, it sets its attack points to the amount of attack points the monster's tributed for its summon had, plus an extra 1,000. So, with 4,200 attack, Rebecca attacks the wide open Valon directly and wins the duel.
Face
So,
down?
could Valon
No?
have won this? Wait, no, that's not how the duel went. Oh, that's right. The detrimental effect of Adamantite's
Can't
Sword
attack.
Revival makes it so you can't attack on the turn that Diamond Head Dragon is summoned. So, why? Since Diamond Head Dragon can't attack the turn it's summoned, Rebecca is forced to end her turn here.
I mean, this is very much of the era, right? Like, so you look at cards like Rainbow Dragon, right, when it came out, and you look at power level of cards today. Cards back in the day really had a lot of restrictions on them. And I think a lot of it was to balance the game state, right? But this also had the knock-on effect of just a lot of cards just being bad, just being awful. Don't get me wrong, I have no love for things like Fiendsmith Requiem. I think it's bad for the game, and I will die on that hill. Because it is, nothing should link one. I think that is a misplay in game design, but I will step off that podium. We'll step off that soapbox for now. I think that from the era, it makes sense. You look at how certain decks function, like Frognarks. You look at Glad Beasts, right? Because remember, Gladiator Beasts used to be a meta deck, right? Cyber Valley used to be a $30 card. Yeah, not Cyber Dragon, Cyber Valley, right? Who remembers that era? Dark Worlds used to be amazing for the. I mean, they still kind of do things, right? They're kind of a pet deck for a lot of people, me included. But like, it's so interesting to see when you see things like this, to see where we have absolute buku cards like Anime Card of Sanctity, but then Card of Sanctity IRL is, for all intents and purposes, reasonably nerfed, right? Like, people would play 3 Card of Demise if they still could. Absolutely, 100%. I don't know, it's it's interesting to think about the power level. Sure, you can add from a narrative standpoint, right? Because he is outplaying them. Sure, this is a big play from them, but effectively giving it summoning sickness gives Valon the out. Tension, sure, I'm sure you could put narrative things in there, but I view this more as of the time. If your name is not big keycard like Monster Reborn, you kind of just have a strictly other effect.
Yeah. Right, I need to moan about this because this was an awful play to make. First of all, Adamantite Sword Revival is a horrifically specific card that shouldn't be in Duke's deck. Does Duke play that many Dragon-type monsters? Has he just put it in the deck because he knows he's
I didn't know
Rebecca?
he did.
It's just, why is he playing this card? He shouldn't have used this card as well because A, Rebecca could have dealt a respectable 3,200 damage without it just now. Just don't use this card and then Rebecca can attack with 3,200 straight to the face. Like, that seems so much better. And B, the reason why he should have let Rebecca do that is because Valon has been punishing opponents having big monsters on their field. Maybe making an even bigger monster might not be the right play to make because he's literally destroyed 2 cards so far with that cloth ability and they've done half the damage back to them. Which is, ironically, the way they're going to lose in a minute. They're going to take damage due to them having a big monster on the field. So I just think it's ridiculous. It's playing into your opponent's win condition. It was stupid. Fun fact...
I mean, it's no different than my opponent dropping 3 Blue Eyes while I have Yubel and Nightmare Pain on board. Grats. Thanks for giving me the game. Thanks for actually swinging and dealing 9k to yourself, right? Maybe don't summon the 3 Blue Eyes. Maybe try to out the Yubel or hear me out. Destroy the back row, then deal with it. The exact same concept. Deal with your opponent's win con. Don't play into their win con. Then proceed to smash phase. I think this also feeds into the ineptitude, the skill issue-ism, right? Where Duke and Rebecca are just outclassed here. Sure, there was a play. Sure, you could argue technically it changed game state, but there really wasn't forward progression. I'd argue it went negative in terms of card economy, right? Having to Rope of Life into Luster Dragon number 2 and then having to do the quick play on it. I think it ends up being even. But, I think the criticism here is valid.
There was hypothetically a way that Duke and Rebecca could have won this duel. If in those 7 mysterious cards they share between them, they could have summoned out 2 to 3 more monsters, well, they probably would have won. How would this happen? Well, if we go back to Duke's turn, just say one of his mysterious cards was a monster, something like Bat. He could have used Bat to attack double cloth armor. Both get destroyed. Duke takes a little bit of damage, but then he could go into a second attack with Orgoth. Valon uses his magnet armor. He tanks the second attack. We move to Rebecca's turn. Now she doesn't have to deal with any interference. So all she has to do is get an extra 2,100 attack points to go for game. This could have been achieved had she swapped that horrific trap for something like Call of the Haunted, tribute Luster Dragon, normal summon Luster Dragon number 2, bring back Luster Dragon, attack for game. This also could have applied for Duke if he had gotten 1 more monster on the field and dealt just a little bit of damage. Rebecca could have gone for the game with Luster Dragon number 2. Now, obviously, this is all coulda, woulda, shoulda, but with 7 cards in their hand, like nothing really. Anyway.
I think that this is one of those that's definitely marred because there's so many unknowns. Like, having 1 or 2 unknowns is fine. When you have, 3 to 4 cards in each player's hand that is just an unknown, I think it really just... I think it's detractive in a way, right? Because, what are they sitting on? What bricks are they running? And even if they're not running bricks, and that's the thing, right? I think this could easily be rectified from a storytelling perspective. If it's Duke had, maybe he had they don't really deal in duplicates other than Kaiba, right? Because he's got his 3 blue eyes. I don't know. Maybe he's well, I'm going to go ham into this. He's a gambling man going into Orgoth, right? But maybe he has something else in his hand that's literally a level 4 lower monster, like Bat, right? He's got Bat in his hand, and he has some sort of monologue where he's this would be the safe play, but I need to make sure I'm trying to close out this game. Using the character and their personality to kind of augment that and kind of explain why they're making certain choices versus why they're not making certain choices, right? An anime equivalent would be what's a good example? I'm trying to throw it off on hand. It's the equivalent of you have 2 plays in hand, and say I don't know, Jaden's dueling, I don't know, Chaz or something like that. And Jaden's looking at, you know, his deck, and he's just like, you know, well, I could actually summon out Avion this turn. Well, actually, I'm going to go Sparkman and his Spark Blaster, and then talks himself out of maybe summoning Avion and trying to go for some sort of like, elemental hero flame wingman play where he has to summon Avion and then fake heroes out or something like that, right? Like, yes, it doesn't quite make sense, but my point being, like, having that monologue, giving that extra context, I think would help immensely in this, and also explain away just half their hand being just redacted, half their hand just not being there.
Getting back to the duel. It's Valon's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Armored Gravitation. On Valon's standby phase, the effect of Psychic Armor Head activates in the grave, which summons itself to the field. Valon activates his Armored Gravitation, which lets him special summon up to 4 level 4 or lower armor monsters in face-up attack from his deck. However, at the end of the turn, they are sent to the grave. Valon summons his Big Bang Blow, Trap Buster, Overboost, and Active Guard.
Okay.
These cards all equip themselves to Valon. Each of these cards has an archetypal effect that states only 1 armor monster can attack per turn.
Sure.
And Valon can choose the attack targets of the opponent's attacks. Small thing, but Valon always summons like 2 hand pieces and 2 leg pieces and 1 head piece. What would happen if he summoned 3 hand pieces and just 1 leg piece? Would he have to have like a 3rd arm and no protection on his leg? Is that how it would be? That'd be kind of cool.
I like this line of thought. I think that in this case, because he's able to search things out so readily, I almost feel like it's like you're running Exodia, right? Even if you're not running like, you know, No Hope for Escape, Royal Magical Library, whatever actual like turbo draw variant of Exodia, like we're talking like modern the fusion one, right? Like you're kind of limited by the pieces being semi-limited to 1, but it's like you can still search things out just fine, right? If you're running, say, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you can still dump your Red Eyes B Dragon. I'm just gonna call Red Eyes Black Dragon. I hate that they shortened it to B Dragon, or Dark Magician, right? You generally want to like. It's the concept of consistency, right? If you want consistency, if you want to see a card, minimize your deck size. Specifically, Yu-Gi-Oh has variable deck size. Not a lot of other games do not. You minimize deck size and maximize copies, right? So 3 out of 40. If you don't want consistency, if you want to bury the brick, you run the least amount of copies and maximize your deck size. In this case, mathematically, we're still going with 40 because minimum deck size, most consistency. You bury the brick in the 1. That's where you actually start getting the people mathing out lists to 43, 41, 42, 43, 44 cards where they're trying to hit certain ratios and hit certain percent chance is how I'm going to word that. The word is escaping me offhand, right? Like there's math that goes into things like that. So because he seems to be able to search these out so readily, it doesn't necessarily make sense that he would run, or that he could run multiples. I guess he could run 2 ofs if he wanted to be hyper consistent. But think about it this way: that's 5 cards, right? This is like an 1/8 of his deck. So if you run another set of this, which I could see 2 of maybe being the thing, maybe you run a 3 of head, 2 of everything else, right? Like you're looking at what, 10 to 15, 16 cards just to dedicate to that. That's what people dedicate their decks, like the modern decks dedicate that many slots, if not more, upwards of 20 to just hand traps. I think that construction is the issue there. Although I do like this line of questioning. It'd be really cool to have that modular aspect and have, you know, just like a 3rd arm just punching from the back or something.
I'd be curious to see what happened if he did something like that. Anyway, the individual abilities of these armor monsters are: for Big Bang Blow, if this card is destroyed by battle while you control 2 or more monsters, inflict damage to each player equal to the total attack of the monsters they control. Then destroy all monsters on the field. Trap Buster, negate the effects of opponents' trap cards that target 1 armor monster or would destroy 2 or more monsters on the field. Overboost, armor monsters can attack directly, but if they do using this effect, this card is destroyed during the end phase. Active Guard. During either player's turn, quick effect, you can reduce the damage you take to 0 until the end of the turn. Destroy this card at the end of the turn if you use this effect. So with all these effects on his field, Valon goes for game. He orders his Big Bang Blow to be his one and only attack this turn. He attacks Diamond Head Dragon. Rebecca, fearing what ability this card has, activates her set Mirror Force.
Right.
She attempts to destroy all 5 of the attack position armor monsters. However, Valon uses his Trapbuster's effect to negate the effect of Mirror Force since it would destroy 2 or more monsters. The attack continues.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Because even though he's attacking as a single unit, there are still, like, his entire field zone, all 5 slots are filled up. Yeah, that works.
Big Bang Blow with 0 attack is destroyed in its battle with Diamond Head Dragon. Before Valon would take 4,200 battle damage, he uses the quick effect of Active Guard to prevent any damage to himself until the end of the turn. So he takes no damage. Since Big Bang Blow was destroyed, its effect activates. Damage is now dealt to all players equal to the combined attack of the monsters on the field. Duke, Rebecca, and Valon take 4,200 damage. Valon, however, takes no damage due to Active Guard. Big Bang Blow wraps up the duel by destroying all monsters on the field. Duke and Rebecca's life points drop to 0. Valon wins the duel. This is actually something I'm not too sure about because the wording's a bit weird. Does Big Bang Blow deal damage to both players equal to all monsters on the field, or just the monsters that they have? So Valon wouldn't have taken any damage anyway because all of his monsters had 0.
Right.
Let me know in the comment section below. And fun fact,
Hard to say.
just to rub salt in the wounds, Duke and Rebecca could have survived this turn. If Duke had summoned the second monster to deal with cloth armor earlier in the duel, and then Rebecca only got out Luster Dragon number 2, after the attack here, Duke would be dead, but Rebecca would have 400 life points left. So Rebecca would have got one more turn to possibly turn the duel around, because remember, all of his armor cards were going to go to the graveyard after this. However, this actually wouldn't have worked, because we forget about one thing: the Seal of Orichalcos in Valon's hand. All he had to do, if he realized he wasn't going to win on that turn, activate the Seal of Orichalcos, all his monsters get a 500 attack point boost. If damage is dealt equal to the total amount of attack on monsters on the field, which is an extra 2,000 burn damage, that would be game. The moral of the story is Duke and Rebecca literally couldn't have done anything without knowing what those mysterious cards were. And fun fact, if Valon would have used Seal of Orichalcos at the start of the duel, he would have won in the exact same amount of time. Want to see more duel analyses like this? Then subscribe. We are literally 2 more duels away from completing the Waken the Dragons arc. Every single duel, I'm going to put a big, massive, huge video out to do with that. And if you subscribe, you won't miss it. Thank you all for watching. Catch you later.
Definitely go check him out as well. Definitely go subscribe. This is quality content. I absolutely love this. Let me take a look at Active Guard really quick to see.
During either
Take no damage this turn. If he uses effect, destroy this card during the end phase. Only one unit can attack per turn. If a Union monster you control is targeted for an attack, while you control 2 or more Union monsters, change the target to another Union monster. Because I'm trying to figure out how that's supposed to math out. Targeted for an attack, 2 or more Union monsters. You can change the target to another Union monster you control. Sure, whatever. Your monster you control is 2 more monsters. I'm trying to figure out how the damage reflects on that one. I'm not quite digging up the effect here. Change the target to another monster. I'm not entirely sure if I'm being completely honest. I mean, at the end of the day, this was just a wash. This was an absolute mismatch. This was someone who knew how to play the game, right? They're playing at a regional, even YCS level, right? Regional Nats YCS. And these, Rebecca and Duke are just, it's a complete wash for all intents and purposes, which narratively is fine. I think that at that point, though, you need to make sure that you're explaining it from a narrative standpoint a little more. I mean, yeah, this is kind of, I guess, a throwaway, right? This is kind of a, hey, we did the thing. But I think that it leaves a lot to chance, and I think ultimately the audience can be dissatisfied or left unsatisfied, really, with just that level of unknowns, right? There's not really that closure, and it just opens up to a lot more. But assuming they're just, either they don't have the skill level to make use of what's in their hand, it doesn't play into what they're doing, or they drew into the bricks. I think it was a good duel. I think this was a really good analysis. Thank you, TGS Anime. Definitely go like and subscribe to the original video, especially if you have not. And I will see you all in the next one.